Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today I've got a great treat for you. The amazing and one and only Michael Sims has decided to kindly join me on our first ever video podcast on Property Chat with Pete. And Michael Sims has got some great gems he's going to share with you today. He's going to be talking about what it is to be a buyer's advocate and what the property group that he represents does. So Michael Sims Property Group, or Sims Property Group, as he would call it, probably, is what Michael represents, and he'll be sharing a few nuggets with us about why people choose to go with property advocates or property buyers, or buyers advocates, if you will, and what they get from it, what they gain from it, how they actually go about engaging a property or a buyer's advocate, and then also what he's done for some of his clients as well. So, Michael Sims, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome, Pete. It's an absolute pleasure. What an introduction, by the way. If I'm ever feeling flat at any stage, I'm going to call you. And if you could launch into that, it would lift me right up. It's a pleasure, Pete. Thank you so much for inviting me on, mate. So this is the launching pad for your first video into the foray of podcasts, video podcasts.
Right. That's right. Excellent. The first video podcast, and we'll obviously have it on the audios and so forth. But yeah, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. I think just to give anyone listening an understanding of what we'll be talking about today, we're going to be talking about why Michael decided to become a buyer's advocate, what buyer's advocates do, how you can engage one, when you should probably start looking at engaging one, and things like that, what areas Michael actually specializes in. But first, to start things off, I just wanted to quickly ask Michael, how long have you been doing this? Where are you based, and what exactly does your company represent or stand for?
Thanks, Pete. So I live down in the beautiful coastal town of Geelong in Victoria. So that's our backyard, and our local expertise in the market in this area is top notch. So that's where we like to focus for our owner-occupier clients. We do buy nationwide, and we launched, I think we officially launched the company about a year ago, but there was a period of time setting it up, because now more than ever, it's now a team sport. Buying property has never been a team sport as much as it is now. So I was making sure that we had the right team around us, from mortgage brokers through to conveyancing, building pest inspectors. So when we did launch for our clients, it could be a one-stop shop.
Excellent stuff, man. Wow, that's really amazing. I think one thing that really stood out for me, Michael, was when I met you, we spoke about you having been a real estate agent for a short period of time. And the one thing that really brought you into being a buyer's advocate, you said something to me that I was like, oh, you were a real estate agent and you wanted less money. and it was the fact that you didn't want buyers to have to spend more than what you actually felt they needed to. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, Pete, that was probably the driving force which led me to the buying side of the negotiation in real estate and that property acquisition process. Hand on heart, I made a lovely older couple pay a lot more than they should have for the property we were selling, and I tragically didn't sleep for about. Now, I appreciate that was my task. My client was the vendor selling the property, so we did right by our vendor. But internally, it irked me. Didn't sleep very well for a period of time, and thought I'd rather even up that imbalance in the negotiation, in that purchasing a property. It's very much skewed to the sales agent side of the process, because poor mum and dad or first home buyers or even upsizers and downsizers, their assumption is that the property has been priced correctly or accurately by the agent. They've got no real way of fact checking that unless they've worked in the industry to a degree. So that's what really drove me into becoming a buyer's advocate. And to be honest, Peter, I've loved it every step of the way. It's been some of the most incredible experiences for some owner occupiers that have walked into their new home and cried and hugged me and cried for a couple of minutes. That's the driving force as to why we do what we do.
That's so awesome, man. So obviously you touched on something there as well. You are doing buyer's advocacy for owner occupiers in particular. Is that correct?
So we actually purchase for both owner occs and investments. We can purchase nationwide for our investor clients, because a lot of that is data driven, and we've got boots on the ground in every state at the moment. So I've got the ability to purchase in other states. Our owner occupiers, though, we do like to stay in Victoria. I prefer down in Geelong, but I have bought a couple of properties throughout the state and managed to make sure that we purchase the right locations and the right properties. I can make sure I inspect them myself.
That's amazing, man. So So why would people engage a buyer's advocate? What is the reason that anybody would be like, hey, I need a buyer's advocate now? Why do they do that?
It's funny. It's a growing space. So there's more buyers advocates coming to the market now. It's becoming a little more trendy, but a lot of buyers still don't completely understand what we do, what our services are. They've just seen us on, say, Sydney Lux listings online, or they've heard the term. But our mantra is to make sure that the client, where sole focus is on the client journey, and to make sure that they, get their time back so they don't have to worry too much about searching on realestate.com for 4 hours and going to a million opens and auctions. We cover that whole process for them so they continue living their life. But the other element is a huge stress-free element. So we want to make sure their buying journey is stress-free. So we cover all of that in the back end for them. We work directly with the finance industry professional that they're using, whether it be directly to a bank or a mortgage broker. We make sure that we cover all bases when we're looking at buying that property. Their only decision is to say yes or no to the ones we present to them.
That's pretty awesome, man. And I think it talks to the advantage that you list on your website as well. You talk about saving people time, money, and emotional well-being. So tell me more about what you potentially would have, give us an example rather of where your client was able to save some money and also some time based on your services that you use or that they've used.
Yep. So one of the big contributing factors to our services is our ability to get access to properties before they actually hit the market. A lot of people have heard the off-market term or pre-market terminology, but not a lot actually understand it too much. So if we break it down really quickly, sales agents and buyers advocates on either side of that transaction, that can be locked away and sold within a matter of a week or two if the sales agent sends us, being the buyer's advocate, and I get these quite regularly, we get the off-market properties sent to us. And if it suits our client's brief, we might be able to close that deal within a week before the sales agent's vendor has to spend money on marketing and open home inspections, which is an emotional roller coaster for someone selling their home going through that process. So for both sides of the coin, it's a fantastic opportunity to get the house purchased well before it hits realestate.com. For our clients, it means they get first eyes on it. They're not fighting against the competition. They're not having 30 other people walk through the property and it becomes a bidding war. We might be able to actually walk through, say yes, negotiate the deal and get it closed before it hits the competitor's eyeballs.
But why would a vendor go to put their property on an off-market sale if they're possibly going to get less for their property?
They don't always get less. Some of it is just the emotional elimination, timing. The last one we purchased was actually off a family. It was an off-market property. The vendor had 2 young kids. So they didn't want to have to go through the process of maintaining the house in a state that was presentable for an open home inspection. There was just an emotional roller coaster for the mum in that case, because dad worked quite a bit. So we were able to take that property off their hands. They got the price they were after. We understood the value of the property. It's probably another advantage that we have over your mum and dad home buyers is that we understand the value of the property because we put it through a valuation process. So when we go to negotiate the price, we understand exactly what it's worth. If the vendor is asking for a price that is far too high, we just move on. If they're willing to come down to where we think the market value is, then absolutely we might be able to negotiate a deal there. Or even better, if it's a little bit of a fire sale, we can get a win for our client because we can't get emotionally invested. So that negotiation process with the sales agent is completely different. They can't get us emotionally invested and make us pay more than it's worth because for us, it's a business transaction. We are fighting for our client. Our sole focus is our client, which is the buyer.
Okay. So you represent clients on the off-market space, but you also would represent clients in an on-market space as well. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. Not every off-market suits the brief that our clients have, which is totally fine. And then we go to the market and we scour the globe, depending on what the globe. We scour the market depending on our client's brief. And when we are able to identify 1 or 2 that we like, that's when we'll launch into our negotiation process and or auction if it's a auction purchase.
Okay, yeah, because I was just going to say auctions can, having been an auctioneer myself, can sometimes be very daunting for people where they may be sitting there with millions of dollars, but they're so afraid to put their hands up and spend it that they just sit there and oftentimes miss out only due to their probably maybe sometimes dislike of the auctioneer even. I've had someone not bid just because they didn't like the auctioneer's style. And it's like, I don't want it anymore. He's too pushy or whatever. It's stupid, but It's the reality of what sometimes happens, where someone like you can come in and take out that feeling of disgruntlement or whatever it might be they may feel towards the situation or the atmosphere, because a lot of people come in with strategies that they've been taught through agents. Maybe they've got a buyer's agent themselves and they sit in there and the buyer's agent's bidding on their behalf. So what would you say the benefit for someone would be in that scenario to work with yourself versus doing it themselves?
Firstly, I reckon you would have been an incredible auctioneer, just by the way. I reckon you would have been fantastic. I, as a buyer's advocate, would have hated purchasing off you because I reckon you would have been on fire.
I love it.
I'll give you two quick stories on this one, Pete, because it actually shows both sides of the coin. And you mentioned people have strategies if they're just going to purchase by themselves and they're going to stand in the crowd at the auction, often nervous. It's emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster. I had one occasion very recently where I was actually just a witness at this property. I wanted to know what it went for, and I wanted to also get a gut feel of how the auctioneer handles the auctioning process, because I knew that I was going to be purchasing off that auctioneer at some stage in the near future. So I just wanted to get a gut feel of how he called it. And after the auction finished, a lovely young lady came running up to me. I was wearing a suit because I always like to make sure that I'm presentable. And she was in a bit of a panic and was talking to me about how she can get inside to negotiate. It had been passed in. Yeah. And I said to her, had you been bidding? Were you the highest bidder? And she said, no, I was waiting till the very end. And I just put my head in my hands. I said, I mean this respectfully. Don't wait to the very end. It's one strategy that people seem to think is a great strategy. We'll wait and we'll swoop over the top.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't understand that the legislation states the highest bidder, if the property is passed in, gets to sit at the table and negotiate a sale price.
Correct.
And if you're not the highest bidder, you stand there with your hands in your pockets and pray that they don't get a deal done inside. So for us, our strategy is to make sure that we are playing. We want to make sure that everybody knows we are there to purchase. We've got a plan in place. We know exactly where our ceiling is. We want to make sure that we are quick, aggressive, loud, and in all honesty, trying to bully a few out of the market. But again, we know what the property's worth because we've done the DD. We've done our due diligence before we turn up on a Saturday. The other story was I saw a lovely gentleman, middle-aged, Peter, and he stood there and he was the highest bidder. And then the auctioneer, and then I won't mention any names, but the auctioneer did a fantastic job and got that gentleman to bid on top of his bid. He just bamboozled him and he was confused. And I stood there and I went, oh my God, you need help. Please, you need some help. They're just two quick stories and examples of what we've seen at auctions where we would be able to help those sort of clients and make sure that at the end of the day, the deepest pockets gets the property, to be completely honest. It's whoever's got the most money. But there are some tactics and strategies we like to use to at least give our chances to have a better chance at winning that property.
Absolutely, Michael, and you're right in saying that the deepest pockets gets the property at the end of the day. But just like you said there, that lady that came running to you saying she's got more money, but she didn't bid, and it's a public auction. You can't go back and say, oh, sorry guys, we just had a late comer. Let's just put it back on again and get the ball rolling. Sorry, it's too late. You've missed your mark, and that's unfortunately sometimes what happens. I guess it's the story of many people's lives, and they've had this great idea potentially that came up in their mind, and then suddenly Uber Eats comes out. That's happened to me. I thought of Uber Eats years ago, but I didn't.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, I promise you, I didn't do it. And it just sat there in my mind, and I spoke to a few people about it and just let it be. And then next thing you know, Uber Eats and Didi and all that. I mean, I could still come in and compete with them potentially, but you know what? It's one of those things where if you've got an idea and you've got something going, if you don't know how to do it, you need to get out there and speak to someone who actually knows how to do it, who knows what they're talking about. Otherwise, all you're going to do is you're going to miss an amazing opportunity potentially, and then shoot yourself in the foot because of the possibility that you missed. And I think I actually spoke to a few people as well this week about the opportunity gap that happens when you don't actually buy a property that you want. The longer you take to actually buy that property, the further apart you and that property becomes. If you find something you like and it ticks most of the boxes, yes, you don't want to just settle for whatever you want, but if it ticks 90% of the boxes, why would you want to wait? And I guess that's another thing. How do you handle clients that come to you and say, oh, I've got this wish list, and then they end up not buying consistently? How do you actually handle that scenario? Because I know that might be a bit of a challenging one for you.
It is, and It's a challenge that we actually really like. We meet so many people and everybody's different. And we love that aspect of every unique client's brief that we get to deal with. And we've had situations where some clients didn't purchase and we presented about 5 or 6 that actually suited the bill. I'll be completely honest, Peter, we've had one client where I said, we may not be the best fit. And I'm quite happy to end our agreement and put you onto someone who might sort of suit you for the buyer's advocacy side of things, because we honestly presented every possible opportunity that's suited, and 4 or 5 of them were absolutely bang on, and I was pulling my hair out internally. But you always have to make sure the client journey is absolutely fantastic. And I spoke to that client's financial planner, mortgage broker it was at the time. And the mortgage broker had said, I think he's just fearful of pulling the trigger, which is what we'd identified. So the next couple, before I actually let him go, the next couple I was a little more forceful, and I said, I think this is the property for you. But sure enough, they managed to find a couple of things that didn't suit them, which is totally fine. And then we decided that we'd part ways respectfully. And I'm okay with that too. I mean, at the end of the day, the clients, we're just client focused. That's all that matters to us. Their journey is a fruitful one. We try to find them the best property at the best price for them. That doesn't mean we always buy a property. So yeah, we're happy to end the agreement, and they moved on.
Awesome. Well, good on you, man. I think that sometimes does happen with a lot of people. That analysis paralysis, they call it, kicks in, and they just think about it so much, especially when it comes down to, okay, the numbers stack up, but the property doesn't look good or whatever, and when you in an investment space in particular, if the numbers stack up rather, and the property is in an okay condition, you can always just work out what it would cost you to fix it and just do the numbers again. And I think that's where some people just get sucked into just too much thinking, and where you can come in and say, okay, what do you want? Let's put the notes down on what you want. And if I bring it to you, you need to then get their commitment, I suppose, at that stage, saying, if I bring you something that ticks 90% of these boxes, are you going to be happy to make a decision on that? Yes or no? Great. Yes. Awesome. Sign here. Let's go. And then that gives you the veto, I suppose, to go out and find them something, which is pretty awesome. And I think that sometimes also comes down to personality as well. And some people allow themselves to just be given the runaround, but some people actually want you to say, does this suit me, Michael?
Yep.
Have you found that? And said, so someone's come to you and said, I don't know what to buy. Can you help me? Thank you, Michael. I just want that. That
actually happened, Pete. That happened yesterday. We secured a property for an investor client yesterday. Contracts were signed. We're now going through the build and pest and financial special clauses that we put in place as a security blanket. Exactly what you said. I would like an investment property and I have no idea what to buy. This is what I've got to spend. This is what we'd like to achieve, because we always like to reverse engineer it. Have at it. And we managed to secure one for him. He was a dream client. We presented the numbers. We presented why we liked it. We presented the opportunities that it might, the fruit that it might bear for us. And again, we can only do our best to provide the best property for them. And he said, yes, we negotiated a price, and it couldn't have gone any happier. He rang me about an hour ago to us filming this you could hear the smile on his face as he was talking, and he was elated. So yeah, you get some fantastic experiences, and that's why we do what we do. It's so fulfilling. It's probably a key word that it's probably a word I really, really enjoy saying in this role. It is so fulfilling to know that you're impacting a family's life directly. You're seeing it in front of you.
Yeah. And that's so true, man. I mean, I must say, we're having done real estate, having done banking, the property space is really a space where you can change people's lives. I mean, a lot of people would say it's materialistic potentially and all of those things, but essentially you're giving someone an opportunity to get into their biggest asset potentially that could change their whole trajectory of their life. And if you get it at the right price, again, that could change the way they retire. That could change the way their kids' legacy pans out. That could change so many things. And it's amazing that you've decided to do this to help people, obviously, to give them the education and the empowerment they need to make the right choices and decisions. Now, my next question is, Michael, how do people actually get hold of you to get that? And what does it entail? Like, is there costs involved? When do the costs apply, etc.?
Thanks very much, buddy. So there'll be a link to my website and socials, I'd imagine, in where you post this video. Our website's a fantastic starting point because it'll give you a snapshot of exactly our services. And ranges from the full service, where we will take you from the start to the finish of the buying process. We have a negotiation only, and we also have an auction process only. So there's 3 services we offer. On the website, you'll see all of those details. My socials will be on there too. I'll try to post as many videos as I can just to give an education. I think for most buyers, I'm very much trying to empower most people as to why we do what we do and how we do it. So if they want to go about it themselves, they absolutely can, using some of the tips we give them. And what was the other part of the question, Pete? Sorry.
So what was the costs and process involved in engaging you? Yeah.
So buyers advocates, there's 2 models around the way they charge for their services. Some will offer a percentage for their services. We like to go with a flat fee and a retainer paid at the front. The reason we like the retainer at the front is so at least for the work that we put in, there's a payment for it. And if we don't purchase the property, say for that client that we parted ways, totally fine. There's no further charges. The rest of the service is paid for at the very end.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you for that. Now, obviously, you're not speaking about the flat fee and how much it is right now due to the possibility of this podcast being listened to in the year 2059 or whatever it might be.
But hopefully it is.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? We might just be infamous by that stage. Who knows? But I think, if anybody is interested in talking to Michael some more about buying a property, where they may be looking to buy, whether it's an investment property, an owner-occupied property, whatever you're looking to do in that space, please feel free to reach out to Michael. Then also just a little shameless plug for myself as well. As you guys may or may not be aware, I work in the finance space, and whatever we're talking about here today, there's no financial advice that I'll be giving at all, and there's no advice to be considered as such. Please consult your necessary advisor, being a financial advisor or accountant, before making any official decisions based on the discussions we have on this podcast or on this video that you're watching. But I think it's important that you do your research, which is why you've probably come here today, to come and watch what it is that we do, how do these professionals actually operate, and to see whether or not you'd like dealing with us. So I've also, as you know, have a website called peterharleyconsulting.com, and you're welcome to, if anybody has any questions, feel free to fill out the form on the website there and send it through to me, and I'll either divert it straight to the person that I have on my podcast, or just answer the questions relevant to our conversation as well. But I really appreciate your time today, Michael, and really thank you for sharing your valuable insights with everybody out there about what buyers advocates do, how you do it, and the amazing stories you've shared. I mean, I think if anything, people can walk away from this saying, you know what, they can make a clear decision as to whether or not it's going to be worth their while to engage someone like yourself, because like you said, there's a possibility to save time, money, and effort and emotion, most importantly, where you don't have to get involved with the process. You've got an educated person to do that for you.
Thanks, Peter. I'm a huge believer. If you don't know exactly how to do something, you get someone. I'm not a chef. I can cook a steak, but I'm pretty sure a Michelin star chef's going to cook a better steak than me. So reach out to your industry professionals, follow your gut, make sure you trust them, and then, step into and engaging them.
Absolutely, Michael. Hey, thank you so much again for joining me today. And guys, please like and subscribe on our channels, wherever you find us. Follow Michael. Please make sure you follow him, Sims Property Group, and just engage us if there's any questions you have. We're here to help. That's what we're here for. We've decided to study and work in this industry so we can help people. And that's why I'm actually doing these podcasts as well, is to bring value to you and hopefully create some opportunity for you to be educated and change your life in the process. So Michael, thank you so much for your time, man. I do appreciate it. And stay blessed and stay smiling as you do, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Peter. Have a great day, buddy.
Thanks, mate.